Okay, we may start playing the video, please. Our love for shipping is something instinctive, and we have succeeded in creating a worldwide network of agencies and towing companies, setting as our major goal to satisfy and live up to the expectations of the Greek shipping community.
Thank you very much today. It's an honor to be here.
Dear friends, good morning. Welcome to the 11th Navigator Conference. I'm very glad to see you all here today, and I would like to thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to join us.
Αυτή η χώρα κυριαρχεί οικονομικά στις θάλασσες του κόσμου.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And a big apologize for these extreme weather conditions. Poseidon is checking our friends, our navigator friends, and we're happy that you are too many, and you are here. It is my great pleasure to see you all here, joining us, the 12th Navigator 2013, the Shipping Decision Makers Forum. Your support is our continuous motive to satisfy and live up to the expectations of the Greek shipping community. Today, Navigator Shipping Consultants has created a network of the biggest and most reliable towing companies worldwide, with Moran Towing and Foss Maritime from US West and East Coast being with us today, as well as an agency network that can assist your vessels in every port worldwide. This year, we're proud to present you the Shipping Decision Makers Forum. We shall discuss critical shipping issues, and we have with us the new shipping generation from the biggest shipping universities and educational institutes in Greece, who are eager to learn and become an active part of our future shipping course. The university students from the University of Aegean, from the University of Piraeus, from BCA, from Alba, from IEC, from Korelko are here, and we must all create the next generation. Dorothea Ioannou, Managing Director of the American P&I Club, will moderate the discussion of the Shipping Issues panel session. The ambassadors of Canada and Turkey will answer the questions of Ilias Bisias, University of the Aegean, and Alba. And Mrs. Elena Thusaki, CEO of Carbon Positive, will discuss the environment, energy, efficiency, and safety, three key factors in any technical decision-making. We shall also welcome Mr. Evangelos Angelakos, Mayor of Inousses, who will present the island's long maritime tradition. We will start from this year to honor the islands who have helped our shipping tradition who empowered our shipping traditional history. Navigator Forum shall be followed by two technical seminars, hosted by Admiralty and MacGregor, covering the subject of EGDIS and cargo handling solutions. At this point, allow me to express my deepest thanks to our sponsors, our platinum sponsor Aspida, our gold sponsor MacGregor, our silver sponsors Aegeon, Environmental Protection Engineering and ERMA First, International Register of Shipping, the Marshall Islands Registry, Transas, and the United Kingdom Hydrographic Office Admiralty. Our bronze sponsors, the American P&I Club, Chorus Call, Falcon Private Wealth, Marine Technical Experts, Medmar Marine Services, National Bank of Greece, Prisma Electronics, RINA, Sava Frangoulis and Associates, SKF, SRH Marine, Sun Kitts and Nevis International Ship Registry, and our courier sponsor TNT. Also our media supporters, Nafteboriki, Trade Winds, All About Shipping, Athens Views, Business Review, Cyprus Bureau of Shipping, Efoplistes News, El Navi, Hellenic Shipping News, Maritech News, Maritime Economies, Maritimes.gr, Navs Green, Ναυτικά Χρονικά, Newsfront Ναυτιλιακή, Plevsi, and Shipping. Navigator Forum is held with the support of BIMCO, and Mr. Michael Land, the Deputy General Secretary of BIMCO, is with us today. Thank you very much, Mr. Land. Alba Graduate Business School, Business College of Athens, Andreadis Audiovisual, and Scholarikos Maritime Bureau. The conference is organized under the auspices of the Hellenic Ministry of Shipping and the Aegean, the Hellenic Short Sea Shipowners Association, University of Piraeus, Department of Maritime Studies, University of the Aegean, Masters and Mates Union of Greek Merchant Marine, the International Propeller Club, the Hellenic Seabrokers Association, the Piraeus Marine Club, and last but not least, Wista Hellas. Following our tradition, we're glad to offer many travel gifts to a lottery among the participants today during lunch. Our special thanks to our travel sponsors for their valuable support and special gifts. Air France KLM, Air Hotel Group of Hotels, Athenaeum Intercontinental Hotel, Divani Apollon Palace and Spa, Etihad Airways, Kalisti Theira Hotel, Louis Cruises, New Hotel, NJV Athens Plaza, Porto Eluda Golf and Spa, Qatar Airways, Semiramis, Skiathos Palace Hotel, and Sofitel Athens Airport. In our today's shipping forum and in all parallel sessions, we will have microphones available for anyone who would like to address a question or a comment, and this can be done during the discussion with the panel. Let me stress out once again the importance of the young people being able to create their own shipping network, especially when the research of Thanos Palis, Ilias Biskias, and Emilia Papachristou, entitled Trends in Marine Education in Greece 2009-2013, clearly shows that the percentage of students coming from a maritime family or having a hometown associated with maritime job is decreasing every year. Our guidance and help to the younger is significant. The entrepreneurship initiatives and networks, among which I4U Greek Mentoring Network is a personal project of mine, aim into offering the right start to anyone, and especially women, in order to create their own successful business course. The Hellenic Initiative belongs to the Greek Networking Projects, is a very important initiative with Greek American entrepreneurs that they want to support Greek entrepreneurs. And they have prepared an inspiring video on us and our country. Let us show what I mean.
I am one. I am one.
I am one.
I am one.
I am one person.
I am one person.
But together,
Together,
Μαζί.
we are an idea. Ιδέα.
No walls.
no borders,
No limits.
No limit to what we can do.
Greeks have lost a lot. A lot. But there's one thing you can't take from us.
You cannot take away our smile. You cannot take away our nature.
Our fire.
Our honor.
Pride. Our love of people.
My home, my family, my memories.
Most of all, never, ever will anyone be able to take away the Hellenic spirit.
Nobody can take my identity.
We're not going anywhere.
But up.
Forward.
together.
Why should people care?
My heart actually bleeds for Greece right now.
We are family.
We have the same blood running in our veins for thousands of years.
These people are me.
And don't let anyone tell you Greeks are lazy.
Lazy? Really?
That's not what I'm seeing.
Not what I'm doing.
We have no shortage of drive.
We just want to work.
To build.
To dream.
To dream.
Time to build the Greek dream.
Because we need to try something new.
Because Greece needs heroes.
It's gonna take time.
Money.
Energy.
Imagination.
But if we work together,
Actions, not words.
we can spark a revolution.
Of doers.
And donors.
Like you.
Like me.
Like me.
Like, why not?
Why not take the journey?
For Greece.
For Greece.
For Greece.
For Greece.
Για την Ελλάδα.
Because Greece is unique.
Because this crisis doesn't have to define us. Because I need to dream.
Let's tell a new story.
Ας κάνουμε μια νέα αρχή.
Together. All together.
Let's tell a new story.
Let's tell a new story together.
No tragedy.
No drama.
Well, maybe some drama. Hey, we're Greeks after all.
No excuses.
It will be collaborative.
Creative.
Refreshing.
It will be inspiring.
It will be fun.
Φανταστικό.
It will be epic.
History is ours.
History is ours for the making.
The birthplace of civilization is back.
We can do this.
But only if you join us.
Let's do this
We can do this.
together.
Come home.
To one Greece.
Μαζί.
Μαζί.
Ella.
We are one Greece.
I am one Greece.
One Greece.
Μία Ελλάδα.
Είμαστε μία Ελλάδα.
Όλοι μαζί.
Όλοι μαζί.
Όλοι μαζί.
We are one Greece.
We are onegreece.org.
We are one Greece. We are the #1 shipping country in the world. We are proud for this, and we must all stay together without any plan B, C, D, or E. Thank you very, very much for hearing to me. And now we will have a slight change of the program. The Minister, Mr. Miltiadis Varvitsiotis, will be here at about 11, and he will then have his speech or a little bit later. So, Dorothea Ioannou, you may start the panel. Thank you very, very much for being here, and welcome to our conference.
Thank you, Danai. I hope I can be heard clearly. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Before we start, I'd like to invite Captain Kostas Garagatsos, who is the director of the Sea Border Protection Directorate of the Greek Ministry of Shipping and Aegean. If you can join us. Good morning. Can join the panel with us? Lovely. Okay. Before we go into the topics, I'd like to introduce the panelists here so you get a little bit of information and background on where they come from. And then you get an idea of how we came up with our topics, which we hope will be of interest to everybody. I will start with Panos Moraitis. Panos is the CEO of Aspida Maritime Security. He was born and raised in Piraeus, Greece, from a family with close ties to the shipping market. Panos has been involved in the maritime sector professionally from a very young age. While studying at the American College of Greece, studying management and international business, he worked at leading Greek shipping companies. He then joined the family business and spent the next 10 years in charge of Greek marine sales on behalf of global corporations. In 2008, Panos seemed to have a vision in terms of what was developing in the maritime sector. And after a year of thoughtful and in preparation, Panos founded and launched Aspida Maritime Security Corps, which is the first company in Greece dealing exclusively with maritime security and anti-piracy. Aspida is very well known for providing services in this field. And now Panos carries over 15 years of experience in the maritime industry and continues to be a pioneer in maritime security, keeping up with shipping standards. This is Panos. Our second panelist, I'm just going to go in the order that they are sitting, even though that wasn't the order that I had them on my papers. Jeff Horst. Jeff Horst has been serving as the commercial director of Foss Maritime in Seattle, Washington headquarters since 2008. Jeff was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Coming from a family involved in trucking for over 40 years and serving also the auto industry, led to his love of transportation. Upon graduating from Western Michigan University in 1980, he worked as a freight forwarder, specializing in import-export, air-ocean freight distribution, project cargo, customs brokerage for over 22 years, raising eventually to the rank of vice president of sales for 2 of the 5 largest multinationals. Since joining Foss, Jeff has overseen the harbor service sales team, who is currently in the process of integrating Foss's Anchorage, Alaska, Honolulu, Hawaii services under the Foss brand, which includes ship assist and tanker escort operations in the Puget Sound, Columbia River, San Francisco Bay, El Segundo, Los Angeles, and Long Beach. I just missed that. George Suravlas. George Suravlas is qualified in both naval architecture and mechanical engineering from the University of Sunderland in the UK. His academic background includes studies at a PhD level in mechanical engineering and lecturing at the University of Sunderland for 4 years, as well as various publications in the field. Mr. Suravlas, with over 20 years of experience in senior ship management, co-founded Elmira Shipping and Trading SA in 1997 and has held the position of technical director until 2009. In September 2009, he founded, together with Mr. Kalfoglu, Loadline Marine SA, which currently manages 4 modern eco-friendly bulk carrier vessels. He is a member of the Greek National Committees of the Japanese Classification Society and the Korean Register, and a member of the Greek Technical Committees of Class NK and the Norwegian Classification Society. He is also a member of the prestigious Who is Who Society in Greece, and recently was also inducted to the International Who is Who Society of Professionals. We went out of order now. Hold on a second. Here we go. Here also with us today to present later on in the discussion a special video on the role of the Hellenic Coast Guard in combating illegal immigration is Captain Kostas Karagatsos, who is the director of the Sea Border Protection Directorate of the Greek Ministry of Shipping and Aegean. Captain Karagatsos has over 20 years of experience in the Hellenic Coast Guard, dealing with migration and maritime border issues, including a 3-year experience by working as in the Risk Analysis Unit in Frontex headquarters in Warsaw, Poland. Michael Lund. Michael Lund, the BIMCO Deputy Secretary General, joined BIMCO in 2007 as Head of International Affairs, bringing with him a wealth of experience dealing with international regulation. He was born in Denmark and graduated from Copenhagen University in 1992 with a Master of Science in Economics, which focused on international trade and politics. He then held a series of posts relating to political and economic issues in Danish government administrations, including World Trade Organization negotiations and European Council negotiations. In 1999, Michael moved to the shipping industry, joining the Danish Shipowners Association. After working at the association in Copenhagen, he moved to Brussels in 2003 and represented shipowners by focusing on regulatory developments in the EU. He then returned to the association's headquarters in 2007 to concentrate on greenhouse gases. Late in 2007, Michael joined BIMCO and was appointed Deputy Secretary General in early 2013. Francesco Dianese was born in Tarragona in 1965 and has a university degree in ADE, Business Administration and Management, and a Master in Marketing by ESADE. So founder and managing director at Next Maritime, which is a leading worldwide ship agent. He is experienced in shipping, beginning with his career in 1986 at a very young age as a ship operator in a local ship agency company. Obviously an entrepreneur, he founded his first shipping agency in 1993 at a young age of 27. Next Maritime Agency is one of the leading worldwide ship agencies, and he will be giving us a lot of very good input in terms of aspect and agency. All right. The topic of the first panel today is the current market issues in shipping. Taking into account the various backgrounds that we have here with the panel, we've come up with a series of issues that we thought would be good to discuss. I'm going to pose some questions to the panelists. And of course, I would love it if the audience actually also engaged the panelists. And I'm not only talking about questions, I'm talking about comments. If you would like in any way, in any form, to get involved in the discussion, please do so. Just wave your hand, and I will definitely get somebody to give you a mic. The first thing we're going to be touching upon today has to deal with market trends. Obviously, we've been dealing with a major recession over the last few years. And recently, we've seen a surge in purchasing and in new buildings, despite the recession. Obviously, because the recession brings opportunity as ship prices fall. But on the other side of that, how do we get out of the hole if we continue to maintain a saturated market in terms of supply? Demand, as we know, must exceed supply in order to create viable and sustainable growth. We've seen some movement in demand with the first signs of recovery becoming evident, but with yards presently not able to provide slots for at least another 2 years and scrapping lagging, are we shooting ourselves in the foot with supply destined to outrun trade demand, thus condemning the rates to remain ultimately stifled? I was wondering if Mr. Sourovlas can give us a little bit of his insight on this.
Thank you, Dorothea. We have seen, I don't know if this is too loud. We have seen that over the last 2 years, in 2012 and 2013, we have seen a very, very weak market. In fact, it has been the weakest market that we have seen for over 25 years. This market has been the result of ordering during the booming years of 2007 and 2008, where the market was expanding very rapidly. And then the orders came in, and these orders were delivered in 2011 and 2012. We have seen, likely we have seen some slippage. And the orders that were supposed to be delivered in 2011 were finally delivered in 2012. 2012 has been a very, very bad year. In the start, in about March or February 2012, we have seen the lowest point in the market. And later on, in 2013, in the first quarter, we have seen also a very, very low point in the market. As a result of that, a lot of orders were cancelled or delayed. We have seen slow steaming. We have seen extensive scrapping in 2012. We have seen a lot of scrapping also in 2013 in the first half. We have also seen that in an attempt to reduce costs, and fuel costs were the obvious, the number one obvious cost-cutting place. We have seen that the eco ships have come into the market. Eco ships and all these technologies that would reduce fuel consumption have been accepted by most of owners, and this is the way that the market and shipping will move forwards. We have seen also that the new regulations will bring in new kinds of fuels, especially in the Northern European areas. And it's going to be a new technological game to find the best way to tackle the new fuel issue. As far as the 2014 market is concerned, we think that the market is going to improve. We think that the market is going to improve because we see that there is a strong commodity and trade activity. We see that there is going to be a growth in the commodities transportation of about 7% in 2014. And at the same time, the net fleet change in the year 2013 and the forecast for 2014 is going to be in the region of about 6 to 7%, which is a very, very low number in comparison to 14% that we have had in years 2011 and 2012. Furthermore, the ton miles that the ships will be required to do to carry commodities, iron ore and coal, will be further, and this is going to increase the imbalance to the shipping side, to the favor of the shipping side. I would like to stress out here that even though the orders have been very low in the first half of 2013, we have seen new money coming in to fill the void that has been created by the absence of shipping finance. The void has been covered by private equity funds that have come in and placed a good number of orders for ships. And now, to the best of my knowledge, there are not any slots available before the first half of 2017. Scrapping has been very extensive. It has been a very, very good news for the industry because the iron ore prices have been high, and therefore the scrap prices, the demolition prices, have been kept at very high levels. However, should the market start to imbalance due to oversupply again in 2015 and 2016, we will see that the fat of the scrapping has been burned in 2012, and it will not be available to burn again in 2015. Furthermore, we have seen that slow steaming has helped the industry a lot, but should the market levels appreciate, this slow steaming effect will not be there anymore.
Thank you. In terms of, I think you touched upon a little bit in terms of technology playing a role in terms of trying to find the way forward. I'm wondering, Mr. Lund, can you also maybe give us a little bit of insight in terms of your role in BIMCO and the views in terms of technology and regulation playing a role in this aspect?
Yes, thank you for the situation report. I think it reflects very well, I'm afraid, where we are. What I can add on this one is that regulation and technology will have an impact on this going forward. Of course, what we see in front of us is basically a green wave of regulation coming up. We will have a ballast water regulation coming in very soon, not only in US, but probably and likely globally. We will have a sulfur regulation coming up, which will force everybody to either go for LNG, for scrubbers, for something different. And the energy efficiency issue will be there even stronger in the future. The sulfur issue in itself will demand even more expensive fuel. So I think all this brought together with the situation we just heard about is going to make a situation where technology and regulation will be a really, really important part of decisions going forward for owners to do, to stay competitive. All these issues have to be dealt with on new ships, on old ships, and it's an immensely complicated situation to deal with in one go.
And do you think that all these things then will create sort of a flushing out of short-term players going forward?
No, I don't think so. Everybody will kind of have to deal with the fleet they have. Some will be in a better situation than others. And so it will be a very, very individual position. Of course, if you bought a lot of ships with kind of traditional technology during the super boom, or if you have bought a lot of ships within, let's say, the last year, you are in two very different situations.
Right, I see. Moving a little bit and developing the aspect of the recession a little bit further, I was wondering if maybe we start from Francesco, from the end of the line of the panel. Maybe you can give us a little bit insight in your sector in terms of how, I mean, we've talked about how the recession has affected ship management. How has the recession affected your sector?
Well, of course, we are affecting all of us. Until the last channel, we are the ship agents. But the fact that we have to stand where we are representing the ship owners, the ship managers. We have to follow the regulations. We have to advise the regulations to the ship owners. because it's very sensitive nowadays. The new regulations going up with the burning of the sulfur or of the ballast, and we have to keep advise all our customers wherever they are calling our ports all over the world, because all the ports are different. We are in Europe. We are more. They are more demanding, and other ports they are not demanding, and that way. That our role here is to keep them informed and to arrange for a smooth and for a quick vessels turnaround, because cost saving, we have to keep them posted and inform about the local regulations. This is our role as a ship agents.
Right, okay. Jeff, perhaps you can give us also a little bit of insight, and especially given your separate region and a special region on the west coast of the Americas, yeah.
Well, we've got an interesting perspective in that you know, we deal with a wide array of different commodities at different ships in every port that we service. So from bulk ships, grain ships, tankers, container ships, car ships, project cargoes, and so on. You know, it seems like at any time, one of those sectors is in recession and the other ones are booming. We're fortunate in that we have have had two very steady sectors performing in our area during this whole period, and one has been we just went through a 10-year boom in the grain industry in the United States that was just fantastic. So we deal with the grain terminals operating in the Pacific Northwest on the Columbia River and the Puget Sound, and despite all the downturn, and certainly in the prices of the daily charter rates that the owners were getting for those bulk ships, they kept coming. And so while other sectors are down, particularly oil and some of the container markets, grain ships thrived for the last 10 years up until this year. This year they were hit with a bad crop in the United States in end of 2012, beginning of 2013. And then we also have suffering kind of through a little bit of a labor crisis at the grain terminals, a union crisis at the grain terminals in the Northwest. And the second sector that is very consistent that helps us is the oil that comes out of Alaska. And that moves, there are commitments for that. The oil companies have commitments for that, whether they want it or not. So the ships transit out of Alaska down to the refineries in the Pacific Northwest and in California. And so despite what was happening in the other sectors, those ships kept coming. And so you know, we were very fortunate. Those are, so, and then I guess the third perspective there I'd give is through our friends here at Navigator and a real 135-year tradition of operating where we do, we think we're in bed with the right companies. So our customers are, I don't want to say they're recession-proof, but when things get bad, they don't trend down too significantly. And when the things go crazy on the upside, they don't all of a sudden spike in their activities. So while a lot of our competitors might have saw 20 or 25% swings in their ship activity in the areas that we service, our spikes were maybe 10, 12, 15%, which wasn't as bad as others. So I think those three factors really helped during the downturn have a consistent service and not be as impacted as say others were. Certainly we didn't see as many of the Greek ships delivering spot cargoes during that time, but we're seeing a trend towards that coming back this year.
Okay, thank you. Panos, do you have
to add? Yeah, sure, of course. Well, global recession, believe it or not, impacts our market more than people tend to realize. So we have a new booming market, the PMSE market, with companies opening up in the dozens, or better yet, hundreds, since people are trying to find new ways of income. At the same time, we have low charter rates which leads to our customers pushing us for lower rates. This, combined with the competition, makes a very competitive horizon, and consequently, all the PMSEs trying to find ways to lower their costs. Now, if you consider, especially in Greek reality, how the situation is here, that people are trying to find income, trying to find jobs, there has been a huge influx of potential guards to be deployed in the Indian Ocean with no standards, no experience, but just trying to find means to survive. If you combine the two, the intense competition with an effort to lower your rates to your customer, who in many cases cannot afford to pay the expenses, and charterers nowadays put a cap on the piracy expenses on vessels transiting a high-risk area. And on the other hand, a huge supply of unqualified personnel willing to work for basically peanuts. I've heard companies paying $50 per person per day, which is insane considering the risk of the job. This creates a very unstable and dangerous, from my perspective, situation in our market. Thankfully, we see initiatives pushing up the quality in our market. So thank you, BIMCO, for bringing out GuardCon, even though unfortunately our customers do not realize that this is a standardized contract and not a certification procedure. I mean, yes, we pay BIMCO to use a contract they prepared, and so everyone knows what we're signing and what we're bound to do as a provider and as a customer. At the same time, we have new standards, ISO, which will hopefully, up to an extent, clear out the market. But as we have, well, from my perspective, a three-tier market as far as shipping is concerned, especially if we consider the new eco ships coming in. So you will have eco ships, conventional ships, and then all ships not fulfilling any standard, working in specialized niche markets with lower standards. This is going to be the case in our market as well. So there are very similarities and parallels between actual shipping and maritime security.
And the maritime security. No, that's very interesting. Actually, though, you know, the clubs have played a big part in ensuring that their ships have armed guards on board that meet all the regulatory requirements and meet all the minimum standards. So, you know, obviously, a ship owner could possibly prejudice his P&I cover if he doesn't put on quality armed guards or an armed guard that has insurance cover that's required and all the rest of the minimum requirements. So hopefully that will also play a role in terms of vetting.
Clubs, flags, third parties, charterers, quality owners, and operators all play a part to weed out the market, basically.
Right. Taking the issue of the recession a little bit further, the last few years has seen some players actually fall out of the market. And while we hear daily of the various aspects of contractual economic partners making claims, arresting ships, or fighting through bankruptcy proceedings, there's also a human element involved in all of this chaos. And as such, end up leaving, in many cases, crews abandoned and trapped on ships at ports far from home, attempting through local legal channels to collect back wages, expenses, and losses. While the implication of the MLC has created some minimal financial security insurance levels to combat this, some of which has obviously recently been absorbed by P&I clubs, practical implementation is not always a simple matter. As the local agent is essentially the representative of the ship in the jurisdiction, and therefore conceptually the representative locally also of its crew, is there any special role that the agent can play in such a scenario, and how and can they assist? Francesco.
Well, we are representing the ship owners, so we are of course taking care of whatever the ship owners are ordering us regarding the crew, etc. It's a very sad situation. Of course, the ship owner doesn't want to have a vessel arrested, but it starts with what we have been talking before. Very strong regulations. The shipport authorities are fining the vessel for a small pollution or whatever, and because the market is so so the profit margin is very, very low. So the owner cannot afford this, and starting in a circle that finally the owner have no other option to leave the vessel in the port, and then the crew is suffering out of this. And is also because of the what you have explained before, is strong regulations. The local authorities doesn't support the ship owners, and finally, of course, the persons are suffering. As a ship agents, we have to support them as far as the ship owners can support them. So we cannot go further than that.
Oh, I see.
So once they, unfortunately, they cannot support them, so the authorities have to take care of them and find solutions, because in a certain way they have created the situation.
Right, I see. So they are then, so in other words, then they resort to whatever local procedures are available for situations for crew.
Well, every country, every port, they follow their own procedures, their own authorities they follow. But unfortunately, you have seen the cases that the crew is on board for a year, waiting for a miracle to happen, and finally no miracle. The vessel remained there, no crew, the crew goes home. So the Red Cross or the local association for the seamen, they are taking care of them.
I see. Taking the aspect of the plight of the seafarer further, and this is directed to all the panelists, what factors do you believe continue to create obstacles to attracting high qualified seafarers? Perhaps we can start with Mr. Lund.
Yes. And building upon what was just said, I think what we see today in shipping, and we will see more of it in the coming years, is a heavy burden regulatory on the ships and the seafarers. I don't think it will stop, and that of course create a difficult working situation on a daily basis. It creates a platform where you easier can get into trouble as a seafarer, some countries more than others. And how to deal with this is a really, really difficult one. In BIMCO, what we do is that we have a dialogue with authorities around the world. And also, of course, we are very active in IMO. Our goal there is to make practical, simple rules so we kind of minimize the risk of getting into these situations. That is one element. Another element I would like to mention here is, of course, that bribery and facility payments and stuff like that, that is unfortunately part of everyday business, and I think that is not helpful in this, making it attractive to do these things either. And regarding the abandonment of seafarers, I would like to add one small thing, and that is that now the ILO MLC have entered into force. Negotiations will already next year start in ILO to deal with exactly this issue. And it has been prepared already now, so I think that will move fast. It will not help the situations right now around the world, but I think in the future it will help a lot on a number of situations. I think that is very, very good news.
Thank you. Moving forward from the panel, Mr. Blas, would you like to comment on this aspect? Or
I'm totally covered by the comments of Mr. Lund.
Mr. Lund.
I don't have anything about it.
Okay. Jeff?
Well, it's going to be a problem in our area as well. We operate in what's called the Jones Act in the United States. Means our tugs have to be built in America, our crews have to be American, and the young folks coming out of the maritime academies don't want to go to sea anymore. So they can get just as good jobs working shoreside. And you know, now granted, working on a tugboat is a little bit different. We have day crews where people can get on and off the boat every day and go home at night. And then we also have kind of 2 weeks on, 2 week off crew arrangements in certain ports as well. So fortunately, I think we get folks that do want to go to sea and not too far out to sea and get home on a more regular basis. We can attract some of those folks, but there's a bit of a resurgence right now in coastal shipping in the United States due to this, the shale oil and the Bakken crude that's coming out. And so we're seeing more ships being built. They're going to be operating, the ships being built in the United States, they're going to operate in the United States that need United States crews. So there's going to be a big demand for those folks, and that'll obviously drive up wages, and we're going to be competing for those same mariners. Also, we're kind of tasked with a crew now who's getting into their late 50s, early 60s, our captains, and we're going to have quite a few people retiring here in the next 5 years. We just had a slew of them retire in the last 2. And so we need to move people up through the ranks and get them to be deck officers on our boats. And so it's a huge issue for us as well.
Well, I believe that in many cases we tend to forget that seafarers is what it's all about. And on any ship, either an old conventional one or a highly specialized, high technology one, it's the human element making the difference. And just look at the Costa Concordia. Yes, she was a fantastic ship, all recent technologies installed there, but it was a human error that caused the accident. And thankfully, I understand that at least in Greece, Greeks are returning to the sea, are returning to that heritage. Unfortunately, I'm not sure there is the infrastructure here to assist people getting again back on ships.
Thank you. I would, just coming from a club perspective, one of the things that we find that we believe is also a major obstacle in terms of, people joining the ranks of going to sea is the constant application of strict liability and criminalization of seafarers and accidents, which we find from a club perspective and representing the ship owning community to be too harsh, and we think that it creates a certain image for the seafarer also that then puts up a barrier, an obstacle. Moving back to Jeff a second, in terms of, I know that there's some, you alluded to it a little bit before in terms of special labor issues on the West Coast that have also impacted on competitiveness. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that.
Sure. Well, the International Longshoremen's Union operates on the U.S. West Coast, and they have a labor contract negotiation coming up in 2014 that is anticipated to be a little bit contentious. As a result, we've seen port infrastructures develop and rail infrastructures develop really well up in Canada and in Mexico. And this in particularly is involved with the box ships that come into the U.S. West Coast, which require several gangs of longshore labor to operate the ship. So if they are going to have a protracted problem next year, the ports of Prince Rupert up in Canada and Manzanillo and down in Mexico are more than prepared to handle the diversion of any ships that the operators might have, and will gladly take those cargoes and transport them inland to Chicago and Detroit and Memphis and every place that they need to go. So it's a big issue right now in the United States, and I think all parties need to move forward with caution because it could cost ships and jobs and have a real economic impact to the ports that they service right now. So they need to be careful.
Thank you. I'm just curious, actually, in the audience, are there any seafarers in the audience? Just wondering. Oh, there are. Okay. Perhaps I'm just wondering if you want, if you would be willing to give maybe a few words in terms of what you find is an obstacle in the career that you've chosen. Not okay. All right.
Don't be shy. Come on.
Would you like to speak, please? Nah. Why don't you give us a little bit of insight? Can we get a microphone, please? It's not working.
engineer and now manager of a shipping company with few vessels, mostly bulk carriers. Now, what I'm listening from all these gentlemen who have very good ideas and presenting very important items, I have to add that we are going too fast to changes, more difficult things, many kinds of ships. You see in the last 10 years how many changes. Still we are not, although putting, let's say, the ballast is important. How can we cope with it? There are 3 or 4 companies making the plans, and now one of them is approved. We go now to make ships starting and operating engines with dual fuels, trip fuels, and the people are not enough educated to feel and to manage to this. Those facts create damages, and the damages are for the owners, and the profit goes low.
Accidents.
Okay. Then, shipping men, owners, are tending to take the benefit of new ships. Okay? Nobody cares for these ships that they are sold to some people with less profit. Okay? If these people being collapsed, that they don't buy, so the new ships of the owners, when they get older, they cannot be sold. This is what we have, all of us, to think. The whole circulation of the money, of the efforts to achieve things that can be done. Before, we had lower speeds, more relaxed people. Now we put them. See the ISM, how much trouble has created the ISM. Now the gentleman, Mr. Lam, said about new regulations. All these are too fast. So this is what we have to think and study more. Not so easy to take decisions. Thank you.
No, it's not. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that in terms of, I thought it was very interesting, the point that he's making, that it's going too fast. Does anybody here think otherwise? Would you like to comment, or nobody? Okay. So I guess we all agree that maybe things are going a little bit too fast. It's a very good point. It's a very good point, and actually one I haven't heard before. Do we have anybody else from the audience that would like to comment on that aspect or that point? Okay, thank you. Moving a little bit away from the whole recession, seafarer aspect. No, okay. All right. I wanted to talk a little bit about developments in East and West Africa. West African trade, I don't know, from a club point of view, we've seen that West African trade appears to remain constant, even in the face of the rise of violent acts of piracy. And it makes me wonder about, what can this be attributed to? A lack of options elsewhere due to the recession, complications and restrictions of trade elsewhere associated perhaps with sanctions, any other factors? Perhaps, Panos, you would like to comment on this? Yeah.
Not only West African trade is not going to slow down, it's going to increase. Shell, for example, I heard recently that they're planning to close down one of their pipelines taking oil out of Nigeria because of leaks, about 10% of the oil going out magically disappears, physically or on paper. So that means that more ships will be required to get all that oil out of Nigeria. Certainly, we discussed before, it's a tight market. Owners, and I would like an owner perspective on that, are trying to find more high rates, better trades, and it's a highly risk. It's a high risk area. It's a well-defined high risk area with an even higher risk factor than East Africa nowadays. But if the charter rate is okay, owners will go there.
Okay. Do you, Mr. Souravlas, do you think that it's about the rates?
We believe that Africa, West Africa, is very, very important. It has there are many cargoes coming out of West Africa. It plays an important and very increasing role, West Africa, to us. Also, we have seen a lot of cargoes going into Africa, and this is also very, very important. I'm not referring only to Nigeria, but the whole Gulf of Guinea. And we would like to have a safe way to discharge and load our cargoes from those areas. We are aware of the great many dangers that exist right now, and we're very reluctant, despite the very poor market, to take our ships to that part of the world, understanding the risks that our crews may be exposed to, and not wishing to take these risks with other people's lives. Furthermore, we would like to say here is that the attacks that we hear that take place in West Africa are more violent in comparison to the ones in relation to the transiting of Gulf of Aden. And this is making us a little worried about the condition of our crews there. We hear now that there are teams of guards that are teaming up with the local Nigeria, for example, Navy or other neighboring countries, navies and police, and they offer some form of protection. We have never tried this in the past. We are very cautious, and if we feel that the danger levels are low, then we may consider that. But right now, the market is very low. We would like to take cargoes into Nigeria or out of Nigeria, and we don't do it due to the related risks that our crews may face.
Thank you. Panos, perhaps you can give us a little more insight on that, what's going on in West Africa.
First of all, I need to point out that not only tanker vessels are being targeted for their cargo. Yes, that's the first target, certainly, but bulker vessels have been attacked, even for some simple looting. The problem now is that in West Africa, attackers are not interested to hijack a vessel to ask for ransom. So they don't care if they injure or kill someone. They're quite aggressive. They're either interested in the cargo or the crew's belongings. From that aspect, yes, ideally, there should be a solution to protect the vessels trading in the Gulf of Guinea. But I have to say, from a maritime security company perspective, it's a nightmare. Each country has different regulations. You can't have an expat armed team guarding a vessel, so you need to work with the police or local navy, and that means that if you want, if a vessel calls various ports in the Gulf of Guinea, you need to embark Nigerian personnel, then disembark them, then embark the Beninese, disembark them, the Togolese, and so on and so forth. So logistic-wise, it is a nightmare, and consequently the costs are enormous, despite the fact that the cost per day for a team is low. The logistics to put them on board and get them off the ship is expensive. And I do believe that despite the efforts of the global community, many years will need to pass until we see a streamlined situation like the one in East Africa.
I see. Michael, can you maybe tell us a little bit about any current industry developments that are attempting to deal specifically with the West African piracy issues?
Yes, we in BIMCO develop a lot of standard contracts for all kinds of issues, and we try to reflect what is happening in the market. And armed guards is today, I'm afraid, a part of everyday business, and therefore we developed GuardCon, and it has been widely used for its purpose, and it was made for East Africa. And right now, work is ongoing on how to deal with that in West Africa. And what is ongoing is simply a process of kind of identifying the issues that differs, because as just mentioned, the situation in West Africa is very different than East Africa. So we are making guidelines on GuardCon, and also making a list of issues to be taken into account if you want to use GuardConf on West Africa. And that work is ongoing right now. Yes.
Just a word of caution, if I may. Many companies are trying to solicit services in West Africa. Most of those are not licensed to do so. So you put your vessel at risk to get arrested, the crew to get arrested, along with a security team. Not only Westerners going on board with firearms, but even if you strike a deal with someone soliciting Nigerian Navy guards to go on board your vessels, if they're not licensed, you may run a risk of having your vessel arrested.
I see. One last aspect on this, and I've heard discussions about this in the past, is because we've seen statistics go down in East, in terms of statistics, okay? Do you think we're in danger of becoming complacent?
We have become complacent.
Okay.
What do you mean? It's something I touched on what I said before. By having intense competition and always reducing the quality of the security provider guarding a vessel, well, that's a form of complacency, isn't it? If you don't expect an incident to happen, I've heard the comment that I don't care if you put monkeys with weapons on board a vessel, I just want to have some firearms on that vessel, which in itself is an insane risk and potential liability. So yes, we have been complacent.
Have become complacent.
Yeah.
Michael? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a very important issue. I fully agree. There's no room for compliance on anybody's behalf. The ship owners should continue to do what they need to do with best management practice and so on. But I think an important issue here to bring up also is the role of the navies, which today have a very active role in East Africa. And they should continue to do so, because it's a whole range of issues that it's keeping the issue kind of at bay. And there's discussion going around in the world that they should withdraw for all kind of reasons. When we meet governments around the world, we argue this very, very much because they need to stay there until the problem is kind of solved. And that leads me to the last point of compliance, that the government should continue the work, or perhaps even I should say they should strengthen the work ashore in Somalia, because if you don't remove the root cause of piracy, this will just be continuing, and it could clearly reverse and get back if the navies and the governments don't get that act together. This is an issue that shipping cannot really do. This is for governments, and they need to deal with this. So no room for compliance ashore or at sea.
Thank you. Okay, I think that was very nicely put. Just for the organizers now, we have the video, or should I go ahead with the video? Okay, great, okay. Moving on to our final topic of session 1, the Hellenic Coast Guard, combating illegal immigration and human trafficking by sea. It occurs to me that as a part of the commercial sector of the shipping industry, we tend to overlook a major part of the shipping industry and the role of the Coast Guard. We often are drawn to topics such as enforcement of safe navigation and protection of the environment, when border protection and protection of human life by combating organized crime through human trafficking by sea is a significant part of the industry, and also greatly affected by the economic crisis that we spend so much time discussing from a commercial point of view. So here today to present a video and speak to us on the role of the Hellenic Coast Guard in combating illegal immigration is Captain Kostas Garagatzos, Director of the Sea Border Protection Directorate. As I mentioned earlier, his specialization is in migration and maritime border issues, and I'm certain that what he has to show us and what he has to say today will impact on you. Captain Garagatzos.
Thank you. I would like to thank the organizers of the forum for giving me the opportunity to speak today about the role, the mission, and the challenges that the Hellenic Coast Guard is facing on a daily basis with regard to the illegal migration phenomenon by sea over the Greek maritime domain. As you also mentioned, there is a 4-minute video showing exactly what I'm telling now, and I would propose to watch the video, and then I will be back to you again.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I would initially say that the Hellenic Coast Guard has general policing tasks at sea. The Hellenic Coast Guard, properly trained, is patrolling all over the Greek maritime domain, which is vast, is challenging because we speak about, you can consider 1,150,000 square kilometers. We speak about more than 18,000 kilometers of coastline, more than 9,000 islands and islets, of course, including the very dense maritime traffic, especially in the summer. So everybody can understand that the effort put by the Hellenic Coast Guard to patrol with aircraft, vehicles, and vessels all over this maritime domain is very, very difficult. But this effort is undertaken on a daily basis according to the guidelines provided by the minister and the military hierarchy of the ministry. In the video, we have seen two basic elements. The first element is the operational, and the second one is the humanitarian. So if you allow me to say a few words about each element. Concerning the operational element, as I mentioned, the Hellenic Coast Guard are trying to ensure the patrolling and the protection of the maritime borders on a daily basis, which means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days per year. It's non-stop, it is happening every day. And these people are striving for two important things. First, to save lives at sea and to avoid tragedies. And the second one is to detect and dismantle the organized criminal networks that are bringing these people to Europe. As I said, this is a very difficult endeavor, but the Hellenic Coast Guard, they have proper training, they have high morale, they are very dedicated to their duties, and as you have seen in the video, they are doing their best to come up with the expectations in this regard. As concerns the second element, the humanitarian, it is always in our mind, and after too much focus put on this issue by the European Union, European Parliament, and other fora, this video was created to show not just an ideal picture, but a pragmatic and realistic picture of what is going on every day. Our minister has decided concrete and precise measures from the humanitarian point of view, and they are already implemented at the Hellenic Coast Guard authorities, and that is to ensure places to host temporarily the migrants for the very few days, 2 or 3 days, that are under the responsibility of the Hellenic Coast Guard, is to provide them food, water, and other things in terms of their basic needs, is also to ensure their medical examination and bring them to hospital whenever there are problems, and also it is to ensure that all migrants have access to legal support concerning their rights. All these measures are implemented already in the majority of the Hellenic Coast Guard authorities that are subject to these migration flows you have seen. It is a very complex and very difficult effort, but the Hellenic Coast Guard is doing its utmost every day to come up with the expectations and to ensure that these people have proper training, proper treatment, and that less and less lives are lost at sea.
Thank you. I would like, can we all just a round of applause for the Hellenic Coast Guard?
Thank you, Dorothea. Thank you, dear panelists. Thank you for the panel. And thank you. We thank the ministry for being here, the minister, the Coast Guard. We're very happy and proud to see this video. When I saw this video in the office of the minister, I said to him, We are proud to be Greeks, and we are proud to have the Ministry of Shipping again and very active. And thank you very much for this. I would like to welcome Captain Dimitris Bezadakos, the President of Navigator, to make the welcome speech before the Minister, Mr. Miltiadis Varoutsiotis. Thank you.
Dear friends, good morning again. Welcome to the 12th Navigator Shipping Decision Makers Forum. And I take the opportunity to thank all the conference delegates, the distinguished personalities who honor us with their presence today, and the moderators who will coordinate the discussions and present shipping subjects of high interest. We wish, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome the Minister of the Hellenic Ministry of Shipping and the Aegean, Mr. Miltiadis Varoutsiotis, who shall make the opening address of the forum. We wish him strength and good luck to his difficult mission in the ministry. Many thanks to His Excellency, the Ambassador of Canada, Mr. Robert Peck, and His Excellency, the Ambassador of Turkey, Mr. Kerim Uras, who are honoring us with their participation in the Foreign Ambassadors panel session. A warm welcome also to the Coast Guard officers, and we are very glad to welcome as well Mr. Mike Ladd, Deputy Secretary General of BIMCO, who already participated in the Shipping Issues panel session. Please also allow me to sincerely thank Navigator Forum sponsors, and especially Aspida Maritime Security, who supports Navigator Forum under the Platinum sponsorship for the second year. We also thank Navigator members, FOS Maritime, offering towing services in ports of the United States West Coast, Moran Towing, covering the majority of the USA East Coast ports, Next Maritime, offering agency services worldwide, and SINAV, offering agency services in Malta. We thank them all for their valuable support for the success of this event. Dear friends, your presence and trust to Navigator Services more than 20 years is a great honor for us, and I assure you that we will continue to provide our best services to the Greek shipping community. At this point, please allow me to continue this greeting in Greek. Αγαπητοί φίλοι, σας ευχαριστώ για την παρουσία σας στο 12ο Ναυτιλιακό Φόρουμ της Navigator σε μια εποχή σημαντική τόσο για την εθνική μας οικονομία όσο και για την ναυτιλία. Όλοι μας γνωρίζουμε την πολύπλευρη και πολύτιμη συνεισφορά της ναυτιλίας τόσο στο γόητρο της χώρας μας όσο και στην εθνική μας οικονομία. Μια συνεισφορά η οποία ξεπερνά το 7% του ΑΕΠ με 3.677 πλοία που αντιπροσωπεύουν το 16% περίπου της παγκόσμιας χωρητικότητας. Νούμερα πάρα πολύ μεγάλα για μια μικρή χώρα. Φίλοι μου, με βάση το μοντέλο της διαχείρισης των ελληνόκτητων ναυτιλιακών εταιριών, αντιλαμβανόμαστε όλοι όσοι υπηρετούμε την ναυτιλία, και σε αυτή την αίθουσα το 99% την υπηρετεί, την αναγκαιότητα να ληφθούν άμεσα πρωτοβουλίες και κατάλληλα μέτρα ώστε να πιστούν οι νέοι μας και το λέω αυτό γιατί αρκετοί σπουδαστές βρίσκονται σε αυτή την αίθουσα που ακολουθούν ναυτιλιακές κατευθύνσεις, είτε στα πανεπιστήμια μας, είτε στις σχολές εμποροπλιάρχων και μηχανικών εμπορικού ναυτικού, για να πιστούν αυτοί οι νέοι για τη δύναμη και τις δυνατότητες που προσφέρει η ελληνική ναυτιλία και να θέσουν ως στόχο τους να ακολουθήσουν ναυτιλιακές σπουδές. Είναι αδύρυτη ανάγκη των ναυτιλιακών επιχειρήσεων να έχουν στο δυναμικό τους ικανά και καταρτισμένα στελέχη λόγω της πολυπλοκότητας και των ιδιαίτερων αναγκών της ναυτιλιακής βιομηχανίας. Εδώ θα αναρωτηθεί κανείς ποια είναι όμως τα κατάλληλα μέτρα. Απλά, ο σωστός επαγγελματικός προσανατολισμός, που πρέπει όμως να ξεκινά πολύ νωρίς. Αν είναι δυνατόν, κύριε Υπουργέ, από το γυμνάσιο. Και η σωστή επαγγελματική επιμόρφωση των νέων και να τους δείξουμε τις δυνατότητες που έχει η ναυτιλία, η οποία είναι μια βιομηχανία εντάσσεως κεφαλαίου. Πόσες βιομηχανίες εντάσσεως κεφαλαίου έχουμε σε αυτή τη χώρα, που δίδουν προοπτικές στους νεοεισερχόμενους νέους. Εάν οι ναυτιλιακές εταιρείες που έχουν έδρα την Ελλάδα δεν μπορούν να στελεχωθούν, κύριε Υπουργέ, και είναι ένα θέμα το οποίο μιλήσαμε για τα πληρώματα, μιλήσαμε για πολλά άλλα, αλλά ποτέ δεν έχουμε μιλήσει για τα στελέχη των ναυτιλιακών επιχειρήσεων, των 1.000 ναυτιλιακών επιχειρήσεων που βρίσκονται στον ελλαδικό χώρο. Έλεγα ότι αν δεν μπορέσουν να στελεχωθούν με τους κατάλληλους συνεργάτες τις επόμενες δεκαετίες, τότε τα Plan B που κυκλοφορούν και στις μέρες μας για αλλαγή της έδρας των ναυτιλιακών εταιριών θα είναι ευκολότερο να γίνουν πράξη με επιπτώσεις μεγάλες τόσο για την εθνική μας οικονομία όσο και για τον καθένα από εμάς που είμαστε γύρω από το πλοίο. Όλοι γνωρίζουμε, κύριοι, ότι οι πλειοκτήτες υποστηρίζουν το ακαθάριστο εθνικό προϊόν, την απασχόληση, τον πολιτισμό, την εκπαίδευση, την υγεία, την κοινωνική πρόνοια και όχι μόνο. Για να συνεχίσουν όμως να το κάνουν, οφείλει και η πολιτεία να τους παρέχει τις απαραίτητες υποδομές και προϋποθέσεις. Γνωρίζω προσωπικά, κύριε Υπουργέ, ότι έχετε μελετήσει βαθιά τα θέματα που απασχολούν την ποντοπόρο ναυτιλία και την επιμόρφωση των στελεχών των ναυτιλιακών επιχειρήσεων. Από τούτο εδώ το βήμα, σαν βουλευτής, πολλές φορές στο παρελθόν είχατε εκθέσει συγκεκριμένες θέσεις για την επίλυση αυτών των ζητημάτων, των πιο πάνω ζητημάτων. Και ελπίζουμε τώρα από τη θέση σας, που είσαστε στον πυρήνα των αποφάσεων πλέον, να μπορέσετε να τις πραγματοποιήσετε. Το υπόσχεστε? Η Navigator Shipping Consultants συνεχίζει την προσπάθειά της πάνω από 20 χρόνια, αντιπροσωπεύοντας το μεγαλύτερο παγκόσμιο δίκτυο εταιριών ρημουλκών, πρακτόρεσης πλοίων και ελέγχου λιμενικών εξόδων. Είμαστε περήφανοι που κάθε χρόνο έχουμε τη στήριξη διεθνώς κατοξιωμένων εταιριών παροχής υπηρεσιών στην ναυτιλία, όπως ο Βρετανικός Υδρογραφικός Οργανισμός, γνωστός σε όλους μας Admiralty, και η MacGregor. Σας υπενθυμίζω ότι μετά τη λήξη του συνεδρίου, η Admiralty και η MacGregor ανέξοδα, γιατί σε κάποια άλλα φόρουμ το πληρώνουμε 500 και 600 ευρώ, θα παρουσιάσουν θέματα με ιδιαίτερο ενδιαφέρον, τα οποία συνιστώ να παρακολουθήσουν οι υπεύθυνοι των Marine Port Captains Departments για την Admiralty και των τεχνικών τμήματων για την MacGregor. Αγαπητοί φίλοι, για μια ακόμα φορά σας ευχαριστώ για την εμπιστοσύνη και την στήριξη που μας είναι απαραίτητες για να μπορέσουμε να συνεχίσουμε. Thank you all.
Your Excellencies, dear friend Captain Dimitris Bezetakos, honorable guests, it's a great pleasure and honor to be with you today under my capacity, under my present capacity, because I've been here several times under different capacities, and I always shared some views regarding the Greek shipping and regarding the future of Greek shipping in Navigator. But now, as Captain Dimitris Bezetakos already mentioned, I'm responsible also to take forward and keep up with my promises of the past that have to do with the upgrading of the services that our ministry is providing to the Greek shipping industry, and also to the upgrading of the shipping sector as well. Because as it has been mentioned already, shipping for Greece is vital. It's vital for the economy. It's the only area that we are worldwide leaders. Greek shipping is making the 40% of European Union shipping, and we are holding the presidency of the European Union the first semester of 2014, and therefore in the only area that we are going to move forward for new regulations, and we are going to be presenting our ideas and transforming them into European policy is going to be the area of shipping. Because in all the other areas, we are not the leaders, and therefore we have to respect the leaders' priorities. But in the area of shipping, we are the leaders, and the others respect our priorities, which is very important. Yesterday, we had a very fruitful meeting with the General Director of DG Move, which is the directorate that has to deal with shipping, and actually, we put together the guidelines for our presidency, and we said that we have in Europe to do two things. First of all, we have to cooperate with IMO in order to safeguard that there are no regional regulations applied only to Europe. And the second thing is that the new regulations that are under preparation, and especially the regulations regarding the CO2 emissions, should be put in such a way that will not make our ports difficult to be approached, but the opposite. We have to make our ports open to the worldwide trade. Because European Union, as you know already, is the number one economic region in the world. And our GDP is much higher than the United States, China, or other areas. Therefore, since being the number one economy, we have to safeguard that we are open to shipping. Ladies and gentlemen, in these difficult times that Greece is passing, shipping and the shipping community may be one of the areas that will help us exit the crisis faster. Shipping, by having a contribution of more than 13% to the GDP, is very vital for the economy. And therefore, we want to host more and more shipping companies in Greece, and we want to make our shipping cluster grow and grow every year. And although there has been a crisis also in the shipping industry, Greeks have maintained their position, having the number one in capacity fleet. And I think that the prospects are very high. Since the last semester, Greeks have bought almost the 25% of the ships that have been sailed. Greece is, as I said, is passing a very difficult phase. But definitely, the country is not in the position that it has been last year. The Grexit scenario is dead. Greek economy has been stabilized. We see that for the first time, after decades, our budget is going to have a primarily surplus, meaning that we can be self-sustainable and we can pay for the operation of the state. I don't say that all the problems are over, but definitely there is an increased interest in Greece's economy. And this increased interest that comes from international investors, and I'm not talking about only hedge funds, but also investors in different areas and sectors of the economy, it seems that it's been growing daily. This week, we had the pleasure and the honor to sign a major agreement for Greece. COSCO, that has been a strategic partner of the Port of Piraeus, has concluded the talks with the Port of Piraeus Authority for an expansion of its investment by €250 million. It's the single biggest investment in Greece in the times of crisis. €230 million are going to be invested in the Port of Piraeus for the expansion of Pier number 3, for the upgrading of the lifts of Pier number 2, and for other works that have to do with the logistics center in Piraeus. And this investment will not only produce 700 more jobs, but it will create another 1,500 around in the area of Piraeus, but mainly will transform Piraeus in one of the major ports in the Mediterranean. Piraeus, after this upgrade, will be able to handle more than 6 million TEUs yearly. The present capacity is 3.7 million. It will be able to host more ships. Now it's having, the last year, it was having more than 180 ships calling the port. Now it's been going to 300, to almost 300 ships, and will have the capacity to host ships that haven't been designed or built yet. And I'm talking about post-ultra Panamax ships that can carry more than 22,000 TEUs. The biggest ship that is around in the world is carrying 18,300 TEUs. So we are building and we are making Piraeus the leading port of Mediterranean for the next generations. And this is very important. And I think that the European Union, that has to approve the deal finally, will give the aid needed and the understanding needed in order to facilitate this investment. Furthermore, we want to explore the possibilities that our ports are giving us. The port of Thessaloniki is undergoing also a privatization plan. There is an increased interest for the port of Alexandroupoli. All our ports are upgrading their security environment, and by the end of the next semester, all of our ports that have passengers will be certified with ISPS code. We are expanding the cruise capabilities of our ports. We're expanding the port of Katakolo. We're upgrading the port of Napoleon. We are doing serious investments in other ports. We are upgrading also the cargo possibilities of our ports. And this applies to Patras, this applies to Volos, and elsewhere. And we want, and we seek investments and partnerships in our ports, and we are ready to discuss with any potential investor any ideas in order to engage our ports, not only to the internal trade, but to the international trade. And for the first time in our history, to use our geographic position as a weapon for our economic recovery, and not blame our geographic location for our economic problems. Furthermore, we deal with the facilitation of the cruise industry. The port of Piraeus by itself, only the last decade, has increased the traffic by 151%. And now that we are talking under the thunderstorm that we have faced this morning, there are several cruise ships in the port of Piraeus. Actually, unfortunately, we had the first and single accident this morning because of the extremely bad weather in a cruise ship ever in Piraeus. And this damages our impeccable until now record. But it wasn't a big and very serious accident, thank God. And we are try also to communicate with the cruise industry and to facilitate them in order to not to be our ports only ports of call, but to offer home porting facilities. Because we believe that when we have home porting facilities, then the whole economy, the regional economy, is getting extremely high benefits. The same we do in yachting. We have presented the new legal framework that undergoes the process of ratification in the Parliament. And we are actually making the Greek-owned yacht to be the most competitive yacht in Europe. If you own a Greek yacht and you have it in Greece, it's going to cost you less than having it elsewhere. And we lift all the bureaucratic burdens in the yacht operation in order to double, and we want to double the yachts that we are hosting in Greece. Now, at the beginning of the crisis, we were hosting 25,000 yachts. Now the number has gone down to 16,000, 17,000, and we want to double this number within the next few years in order to give life to our mariners, to give life and work to our seamen and seafarers. Captain Dimitris Berzetakos mentioned before about, and actually urged me to do something about education, the educational system of our seafarers, and how to engage our educational system with the shipping community. And I think that his urge is very vital for the future. This year, we have seen the best quality of students in our academies of shipping. There are people who have excelled in high school and have joined the academies for the first time. People that they have degrees of 16, 17, 18, while years ago, people who were joining our academies were having degrees of 8, 9, 10, 11 max. Therefore, we have to offer to these new people who are joining shipping community better services. And we are, in cooperation with the Union of Greek Ship Owners, we are upgrading all our schools. We are buying new new equipment. We are upgrading, we try to upgrade all the schools in terms of technical means, but definitely we need a new framework for the work. And we have really opened the discussion with the unions, with the Union of Ship Owners, with the Union of Seafarers, in order to present by the beginning of next year a new framework for the operation of our schools. And I think that this is going to be one long-lasting reform that will produce definitely great results for our shipping community. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm closing with that, I was planning also to talk about the Hellenic Coast Guard, but I've seen that you have already seen how difficult the job of the Coast Guard is. And I really want to thank the men and the women of the Coast Guard for their dedication, for their high level of expertise, and for their endless efforts. I know that people who are underpaid are contributing very much. And I think that as a member of the government, in the name of the Greek people, I want to thank these people for the tremendous job that they are doing. And I want to tell you that I'm very proud to be leading also the Coast Guard, that is not doing only this job, but is doing a multiple job, providing multiple service to the shipping community. And I've met people who have a vast experience and people who have great dedication to providing services to the ships and to the seafarers, to the shipping community as a whole. And as a political overseer of these operations, what I want to do, and I want to communicate with the shipping community, is that we want to lift all the bureaucratic burdens that make your work difficult. And therefore, we are open to proposals, to ideas, in order to make your work easier. And a final word. A final word to the Bezetakos family, who have been very good friends of mine, always welcoming me in Navigator. I want to wish them well. Congratulations for this conference. I think it's one of the biggest I've ever seen, and very well organized. And I wish that the Navigator will remain one of the leading shipping conferences of Greece for the years to come. Thank you very much for your attention.
So the Turkish and the Canadian ambassadors are here. We will have a very short coffee break of 15 minutes, please. We must keep the time. We have representatives from the Embassy of China, of Panama, and when we come back, we will be more than happy to hear our ambassadors. In 15 minutes, we're back. Thank you very much.